welcome here to the home of Jan de Svalingstad champion, of course, celebrating Jan de Svalingstad champion as we are singing Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear Svalingstad champion, happy birthday to you, and of course, great, happy wedding anniversary also to my angel Amy, and welcome everybody over here to the exclusive race reaction, obviously exclusive for the second year running here for this 2025 season. And you know, we are really happy to announce that on the June 29, 2025, as obviously that Austrian Grand Prix run at the Red Bull Ring, the track that is closest obviously to the place I was born, is run. You know, we've managed to score the best Grand Prix result to date, and yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's also interesting that obviously, you know, the team boss, you know, wasn't present sadly, you know, due to some personal matters, and all of a sudden we you know, could have scored a really dominant 1-2, I do believe, if the cars that do not have this beautiful scarlet red fashion but rather the orange fashion would collide. So over here we will tell you everything, you know, that there is to know. Obviously we, you know, are in the midst of the celebrating of this happy birthday, so we are very happy that we can still do this race reaction, which obviously is always released so far, always 24 hours, you know, after the race finishes. And yeah, what a pity that just like in the Chinese sprint we couldn't be celebrating with this beautiful golden shiny Formula 1 Grand Prix winner trophy and singing the Italian anthem as we celebrating happy birthday. Well, I would probably have to be driving the car because I'm always winning on the happy birthday. Definitely do check out you know, on my wonderful YouTube video channel over here, you know, that great race you know, that I have done. You know, winning basically in Qatar when I did that 2023 season, and yeah, scoring the victory on the June 29th. Obviously, you know, I absolutely was loving it. And yeah, you know, with regards to this race, you know, I have to say that you know, we've brought some upgrades, so that was very important. And you know, the upgrades, you know, so basically, in order to kind of save the season, but also maybe to make sure, you know, that we, for example, you know, score some of the victories and maybe mount that unlikely title challenge. It's very important to get ahead of the orange McLaren cars, right? Because they won the Constructors Championship, so they do not have so many development hours. It's also important to, you know, be developing for that brand new Formula in 2026. But yeah, you know, bringing basically the you know, so instead of, you know, obviously the engine, you know, the powertrain is given, right, you know, the wings, the aerodynamics, but, you know, bringing pretty much, you know, the lower part of the car, so mostly the floor. So we had obviously new floor for the Austrian Grand Prix, and the suspension which is coming for the Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, you know, that could really push us right in front of the McLarens, because, you know, they were racing like crazy over here for the victory. Obviously at the moment it looks like the championship fight is between them, but you know, we finished, we were basically the only team that finished within a minute of them, and you know, within pretty much 20 seconds of them if you look at Charles Leclerc's final race time. So you know, I was you know, deeply encouraged, you know, by what we've seen, but definitely, you know, we've been left wanting more, right? So you know, could have we done a qualifying lap that was less than 64 seconds? What do you guys think? You know, it would have been a tall order, but it would have secured a pole position. But we were, you know, in a really good starting position, second and fourth. Obviously, you know, we were building up the speed through the free practices. No sprint weekend, maybe a bit sad, because obviously Lewis Hamilton would definitely finish on a podium, a sprint podium, or probably even win it for the second time. So a bit of a pity there. But it's coming for Belgium, right? So, you know, when the qualifying finished, obviously starting second and fourth, McLaren first and third, the goal was to get ahead of them at the start. Because if we would have managed that, then I do believe, you know, McLaren would find running in the dirty air very difficult. And, you know, we should have been able, you know, to fend them off, excuse me, through the 3 DRS zones. So the 3 DRS zones, they really provide for a great, you know, racing, because basically the first DRS zone on the main straight, you know, it's really difficult to overtake there, but it's the second and the third, you know, DRS zone leading from turn 1 to turns 2 and 3, and then from turn 3 to turn 4, you know, where that you know, really enables you, you know, to stay in touch with the car. So, you know, I was thinking, look, even if we are, for example, second, you know, we should have been able to keep up with the McLaren. But sadly, you know, once the red lights went off in this beautiful circuit, which we definitely recommend that you guys finish. And obviously with the beautiful, glorious sunshine and the blue sky, it looked pretty good. We've gotten a very good start, better than Norris, kind of equal Piastri. So both Leclerc and Hamilton did pretty well, but obviously Norris kind of aggressively blocked off Leclerc, which allowed his teammate and the championship rival to get through. Probably he didn't think it through. That's one of the weaknesses obviously of Lando Norris. And as a result, Leclerc did lose the second place. So probably it would have been better to get a slightly slower start, maybe lift off a little bit, to slot in behind Norris, keep it up from Piastri, overtake Norris, who probably wouldn't risk too much, and then see what develops. Hamilton did very well to stay ahead of Russell, so we kind of fell back at the beginning, and that was part of the problem, because again, the qualifying kind of missed opportunity, and here lap 1 missed opportunity. There was a safety car obviously on lap 1. Pretty much everything happened right at the beginning. Right, first we started 15 minutes late because Sainz, obviously former Ferrari's drivers, Williams pretty much couldn't get going, and when it got going, the right rear of his cars, I suspect the brakes just caught on fire, and he didn't even start the race. And then obviously you had that big collision heading into turn 2. Out of that heading into turn 3, out of that turn 2 king, when the new boy Andrea Antonelli, some people think he will race for Ferrari in the future. Well, we will see. He was very late on the brakes. He looked up rears and fronts, as he said, and took out the reigning world champion Verstappen on the Red Bull ring. So he's definitely not going to be a favorite. But it's interesting how the 18-year-olds, right, the teenagers kind of are like brushed aside. Okay, he apologized. He's young. He makes mistakes. But that was a really tough move. Thankfully it didn't impact Lewis Hamilton. He was also inches away from getting hit. But basically it put away one Benz car. So we then knew that there was a really solid chance that we would actually return to the second position in the Constructors Championship as a result. And obviously with Verstappen out, that's probably his title chance is over, right? But for us, we were able to kind of keep up with McLaren's, but they were racing like crazy. And again, great tussle between Norris and Piastri. Obviously very enjoyable for a neutral viewers. But I really was almost celebrating when Piastri made that late lunge, heading into turn 4 and almost took out Norris. Man, if there was a collision, that would be a Ferrari one too. What a pity. Obviously, we would have liked to win on the pace, but Piastri got reprimanded. That was a really late move that was never gonna work. But I have to say, that sadly on my happy birthday, it wasn't meant to be that we would win in Formula 1. But that's why obviously I'm doing that concurrent 2024 season to win as well, right? So and then pretty much once the people started stopping, so obviously with Norris stopping first, everybody started on a medium stay, everybody switched to hards, but with the track temperature over 50 degrees Celsius, obviously you had to make that second pit stop. But whenever you actually, the undercut is a bit more powerful over here, and as a result, even though, for example, during the race that you could have just seen, that I won in spectacular style for Scuderia Ferrari, you probably have seen that I've only done a one stop, so it's definitely possible. That's how I fought with Vettel, for example, in 2016. But the big problem with a one stop, obviously, is that you can run out of tires at the end, which is what happened to me as well. So overall, everybody kind of kept it clean, but Norris, by stopping earlier, he then established a 5-second gap to Piastri, and we basically didn't have them coming ever so closer. With Ferrari, I think we did a great job leaving Russell behind and kind of keeping up with the McLarens. But obviously a lot of tire management, a lot of lift and coasting, as for example Leclerc's engineer was telling Charles, and I do believe that when we then switched from the hards to mediums, with 20 laps to go, I guess soft was an option. But pretty much maybe sometimes, when we have the 7-time world champion saying, look, my tires are okay, let me stay out, maybe it would have actually been a quicker strategy. So I was a little bit surprised. Obviously, once we stopped, Hamilton stopped as well, because if he would have taken Charles's podium by only stopping once, that wouldn't work well. Another team with equal drivers, McLaren, Norris stopping first, then Piastri. So again, it just spread out the gaps a little bit. safety car, would definitely help us, when, for example, we would be, then switching, to the tires, I do believe, that would have been another opportunity, but yeah, we really had to, make it work at the start, and, pick up any pieces, especially from the collisions between the orange cars. That sadly didn't happen. So, this is how the race finished over here. Again, I do believe that, we are getting very, very competitive, and if that new suspension, again, remember 70 laps, we finished only less than 20 seconds, behind, which basically means, if we could get 2 or 3 tenths from the new suspension coming up, obviously, for Silverstone, that could, definitely over here, pretty much, put us on an equal pairing, right? And then you still have 12 races to go, and we would be in the fight for the championship. So let's take a look at how the race finished on this beautiful Scuderia Red Retina iMac. So obviously Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc fought with his Ferrari SF1000 T818 Formula 1 racing simulator. And then let's take a look at the drivers and the constructors standings, and yeah, what it means then for the place where Formula 1 was born for the next round, round 12, that will end the first half of the 2025 season. So over here, let me turn it nicely here for you. Okay, I mean, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? And yeah, so we can see over here, so obviously Norris winning by almost 3 seconds from Piastri, again, quite an interesting, fight between them, but Leclerc third, Hamilton fourth. That's, the best return, of the points on Sunday. Obviously, Leclerc finished second in Monaco, but Hamilton did not finish. Again, Hamilton was only fifth, right? So yeah, over here, that was basically a return of 28 points, 27 points. Yeah, pretty much, just like in Monaco over here. But the fact that we were clearly the second, fastest team is great to see. You can see Russell 1 minute, whooping 1 minute behind McLaren's. And then Liam Lawson did a good job for racing bulls over there. Considering this is the home Grand Prix for the Red Bull, he has, with Tsunoda obviously, being the lone, Red Bull after Verstappen was taken out on that one and finishing last, I believe, that's just a disaster, for them. So it's great to see Red Bull being disintegrated and overtaken even by their sister team. Fernando Alonso for Aston Martin did a good job to hold his client because he's obviously manager of Gabriel Bortorato, the reigning F2 champion who scored his first points. And Alonso, as a result of scoring 6 points, as you will see in that new table, which doesn't look as good as the old one. We should always improve, not regress. Sadly, obviously for Alonso, sadly for us, but yeah, for Alonso, he now equal Lance Stroll in terms of the points gotten. So pretty impressive. 9, Hülkenberg, made it from the back, where Sainz, couldn't get out, out of the starting blocks, collected 2 points, and then Esteban Ocon for Haas has gotten a point over here. So let's take a look at the driver standing. So guys, this is how it looks like. Not much obviously that we can do about it, but yeah, nice heads over here showing you how the race finished. So this is our 2025 season Drivers' Championship. So Oscar Piastri leading with 216 points. Second, Lando Norris, he should have 201 points. And Max Verstappen, he stays third on 150 points, as we can see over here. Next is George Russell for Mercedes, 146 points. Winning in Canada, finishing 1 minute behind. You can see lots of swings in the Formula 1 season. And, it would be great, obviously, if it could now continue for the rest of the season like this. So hopefully we won't be seeing McLaren's being so strong. Charles Leclerc for Ferrari is fifth, 119 points. You can see 27 points behind Russell, but also crucially 36 points behind Verstappen. So Leclerc definitely has to try to close the gap, and if we leave Great Britain hopefully with our first victory, and hopefully within 25 points of both obviously Russell and Verstappen, that would then give us a great chance maybe by the time, because there will be the Belgium Sprint by the time the summer break starts. Leclerc could be third. Lewis Hamilton is sixth on 91 points. Again, I'm sure he can get into 100, in the next race. Andrea Kimi Antonelli is seventh for Mercedes, stayed on 63 points. Pretty much guaranteed to finish the season there. 8, Alexander Albon for Williams, 42 points. Third race, complete overheating for Williams. They just couldn't handle the heat in Austria. 9 obviously is then Esteban Ocon over here for Haas, 23 points. Then we have Nico Hulkenberg, who is 10th over here for Sauber, 22 points. Isaac Hadjar out of the top 10 for Racing Bulls, 21 points. Then we have 12 over here, which still is Lance Stroll, Aston Martin, 14 points, 13. Fernando Alonso, Aston Martin, 14 points. And Stroll obviously having that 5th place, I think, from Australia. Then Carlos Sainz Jr. over there, 14 for Williams on 13 points. And then Liam Lawson over here, probably best race in his Formula 1 career, finishing 6th. He's 15 now for Racing Bulls with 12 points. Then we have 16, obviously, Pierre Gasly over there, for Alpine with 11 points. Look at Yuki Tsunoda, 17, Red Bull Racing, 10 points. That must be painful because obviously 18 over Berman has 6 points. He needs to be picking up some of the points, because Gabriel Bortoleto, 19 for Kick Sauber. He has gotten his first points. He's on 4 points, and wow. Tsunoda, my God, if Colapinto over here, who is on 0 points, Franco Colapinto for Alpine, obviously Jack Doohan probably won't be returning for Alpine, they are on 0 points. When if these guys behind Tsunoda start picking up the points, he could even finish 20th. Yes, that's really, quite surprising, but this is how the drivers' title championship obviously looks like. We've again only lost a little bit of the ground to the leading McLarens, but yeah, it's great that obviously we are making progress. And speaking of progress over here, let's take a look at our Constructors table for the 2025-2025 season. So McLaren still leading obviously with 417 points, but we are back to 2nd place. And obviously Great Britain will feature many of the similar corners. So I expect us, even though Mercedes was strong there last year, I expect us over here to extend the lead. Now we are having I believe 218 points, and Mercedes having then 209 points over here, so 210 points to 209 points. So by 1 point we have gotten ahead over here, and basically, Antonelli, he might have lots of fans, even in my family, surprisingly, but yeah, he really cost them the 2nd place in the championship. So we are leading by 1 point. Obviously, we want to extend that heading into Great Britain. 4th, Red Bull Racing, 162 points, most of them 155 points, courtesy of Verstappen and other Red Bull. The other Red Bull cars have only gotten 7 points in 11 races plus 2 sprints. That tells the whole story. Williams is 5th. Still with 55 points, but it's raging behind. So then we have Racing Bull 6, 36 points. Then the 7th, obviously being Haas with 29 points. 8 is then I believe Aston Martin over here with 28 points. Kick Sauber 26 points. 9, they've improved a lot. So Audi must be excited about it. I believe the 6th and maybe even 5th place is definitely up for grabs. And Alpine 10, 11 points here. They'll probably stay there unless they start scoring more points. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. So let's go back over here again and enjoy the red color, burning that orange color. This was the Constructors Championship after the Austrian Grand Prix. This was the Drivers Championship after round 11. And yeah, this is how the race finished. Piastri might have had the fastest lap, but Norris have gotten the pole position and the all-important race victory. And yeah, for us, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the race. It was obviously run on my happy birthday. We almost didn't make it to the start. That was thankfully then delayed. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the progress. I think there's, a lot to look forward to. Certainly, pace-wise, I think, this is a proper racetrack. We are very competitive, and we cannot wait to go to Great Britain, because this is the obviously first race of this doubleheader that we have, Austria, Great Britain. So you guys, stay tuned. I hope you enjoyed my exclusive happy birthday reaction. Buon appétit! We could only sing the happy birthday song. We couldn't sing with the Italian national anthem and lifting the trophy. But we will be back with our team presentation for the final race of the first half of the 2025 FIA Formula 1 season 2025. You guys, make sure you stay tuned. And now, let me celebrate. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Smiling Sun Champion Jan. Happy birthday to you. And thank you, Angel and me. Happy wedding anniversary to us. Now the sunny summer is about to start. Let's enjoy it.